Hello and welcome to Ask MotorInc. The last time I was on Ask MotorInc, I told you I'd been for a really long ride and on the track and back. And since then, I've posted in detail why I did that long ride, why I would never do that long ride again, and what I learned from it. If you'd like to see that, that's on my profile on MotorInc Circles. Circles is like a small social media network that is built inside the app. It's completely free to use, and the app, of course, is a free download on both the app stores. You can go and get it and look at those posts. And if you have questions about that, all you have to do is post the question on Circles with the hashtag AskMotoring, and what will happen next is somebody will answer it. We will answer it. And if it's really interesting, that question, then we'll pull it up here onto this video. And the first question we have today is from Sharma Ji. I can't see the full username, so Sharma Ji Pratik or Pratap or something. Sorry. And the question is, what's your take on servicing your bike at a known local garage or the brand service center? This question is coming from the idea that they have a Duke 390 Generation 3. They've given it to various service centers around Bengaluru, never got satisfactory results, but they do have a friend who owns a garage. They usually give them the bike after service just to make sure the bike is okay. This time they're thinking to get full service from them. Is that a good idea? The motorcycle is still under warranty. The honest answer is I use a combination of both of these resources. So I have friends in Bengaluru who have garages. I have friends in Mumbai who have garages, and I'm aware of the authorized service center network too. And for all of my under warranty motorcycles, I use a combination of these resources. So in the aftermarket, there are sometimes mechanics who are far better at diagnostics and figuring out why your bike is behaving a certain way than the authorized service centers can handle. But because the warranty is still valid, I must get my authorized service done from them on schedule. So I balance this out. I've done this for my Ducatis, both of them. I bought my Aprilia, it was already out of warranty, so it's actually seen the first two services at the Aprilia service centers and then never again. And my 390 Adventure, which I bought recently, is still under warranty, so it does get service on time or earlier at the KTM service center. Service centers do vary in quality. Within Mumbai, I use two service centers. One of them is close to my house and happens to be the higher quality service center. But there's one close to our office, and that one is just nowhere on the same planet in terms of the quality levels that they can deliver, in terms of the technical competence, etc. So you do play these balances out. Always remember, in the service center system, what actually happens is the mechanics are usually a little bit underpaid, and that's not them being malicious as much as we don't pay enough for service. There is a spark on this that you can see in detail if you'd like to. That would be on YouTube and on the app. And because of this chain of consequence, when a mechanic becomes senior enough, the salaries that an authorized service center will pay, it makes it hard for them to continue to have a lifestyle where the child's education and medical care, etc., has to be taken care of. And then the only option they have is to exit the system and start their own business. And therefore, a lot of the better mechanics are not working at the authorized service center anymore. They're all outside the system. So to me, my advice to you is you're under warranty, so your service must happen at the service center, whether you like the quality of it or not, so that on the record, on the documentation, you have got all the work done on time. However, you already seem to know a local garage who you trust. They are your backup system who fix any issues that the authorized service caused and help you solve other problems that the authorized service center may not be very good at. That's what I would do. The next question is from Shot Ahead, and they're saying, should you buy a bike in the first lot when a brand has just launched them? This is specific to the Xpulse 210 in their case, but they've heard other people tell them that maybe you shouldn't buy the first lot and you should wait in case there are any problems. And it seems to allege that brands are not testing their machines enough, which is not actually the case. Okay, so brands do what they can in terms of validation and verification, which is the official name of the process, which is to say these are as close to the final production parts as they're going to get, and then they're put on motorcycles which are sent out into the real world, which is where the spy shots come from. And many of these systems are being run for tens of thousands of kilometers to make sure that they work. Now, the problem is, and R&D engineer once told me this with a huge smile on his face, he said essentially that the way customers use their bike can sometimes be so radically different from the design intent of the machine that they will discover new issues that are simply never going to crop up in the validation verification process. And this happens to all manufacturers all over the earth, where you will discover new issues. To give you an example, the Suzuki V-Strom 800 is considered a very reliable motorcycle. But I was listening to a podcast where a very senior rider in Australia, they were out off-roading with the bike and they loved it until the instrument cluster basically came off because the screws came loose, and their feedback then went back to Suzuki, who will hopefully roll out a fix for this loosening screw at some point. And these kind of things do happen. My easy solution to this is to not be the first lot customers. Usually we get this question saying, how do you know whether the first lot has been delivered or not? It's the idea of the first lot, not the mathematical actually correct last bike in that lot. So to me, if you don't trust Hero's quality levels and their recent reputation for premium bikes says maybe you shouldn't, then I would say I'm ready to buy an Xpulse 210. Let me make my booking, but let me not take delivery for the first 6, 8, 10 months, depending on your confidence level. And by that time, some of the initial issues have arrived. Some of their solutions have been deployed by the service centers. And now you know what the stability picture of the machine is. Your confidence could be higher in a brand like Suzuki, Honda, or Yamaha. It could be slightly lower for a brand like TVS or Bajaj. But in all of these cases, if you don't trust this manufacturer brand, whatever they are and wherever they're from, the idea is you don't show up to be their first 10 customers. You look at the bike and you say, I really love the idea of it. You might pay the booking amount if you want to. And then you just sit tight and wait. And when the dealer says there's a machine should be allotted to you, you just say no. And then 6 months later, or whenever you have that confidence saying, yeah, I think everything is stable. I know exactly what's going on. Then you show up and you start the paperwork process of them registering the bike to your name and then delivering the motorcycle to you. To me, this is what I would do, depending on how much of this reliability thing is a big factor for you. Again, we are humans, we are on a continuum, and not everybody values reliability the exact same way. The only one idea that I would like to completely break down here is the idea of 100% reliability. Nothing, including your family, is 100% reliable. So expecting a production motorcycle to be 100% reliable is just a little bit silly. Things will happen. Things can be solved. Motorcycles are not very complicated to do this. And yeah, it may be unpleasant. But if you're expecting that I will buy this bike, I will put petrol in it, and then it'll run forever, there's no motorcycle on earth that does that. They all need some amount of help. In theory, the Japanese bikes need less help. In theory, the European bikes need more help, but it's a small trade-off. To me, the European bikes generally have more feelings associated with them. The Japanese are a little bit numb comparatively. And to me, this feeling is a lot more important than reliability. That's how I buy my bikes. Obviously, your method will differ. Discovering the method is important. Next is Venkat R. And their question is, how do you keep rain out of the eyes? Are there better solutions other than a clean visor? Honestly, no, there isn't. You keep your visor clean, you stop as many times as you have to keep the visor clean, and that should work. I do use a product from a company called Moto Solutions. They are represented in India by Moto Usher. You can buy a sachet, which is about 150 rupees for a set of 3 or something like that. You'll have to check the accurate prices because I'm at the end of my sachets, which are now 5 or 6 years old, so they last a long time. They have 2 products. One is called Fog Tech and the other is called Raincoat. Raincoat goes on the outer of your visor and Fog Tech goes inside. Inside is the anti-fogging product. Outside is a hydrophobic product which makes the water run off. I find that they are quite effective. They don't last very, very, very long, but on a long ride, for example, I would make sure that I have the coating on the outside at least. It really does clear the rain quite well. On my recent ride to Chennai, I rode 3,000 kilometers on one application of raincoat, and at the end, raindrops did start to accumulate on the visor and interrupt my vision, but that's a long distance to go without it really interrupting your flow. I also have the KTM screen, which comes up quite high, so when I put ceramic polish on that, that also seems to help the rainwater run off and keep my vision clear. This is the solution to it. Can you ride with the visor open? Eventually, you'll start blinking really quickly because the drops are going in your eyes, and it's not a great idea. The second question is, has anyone tried a tank bag that works well as an everyday office bag? Because we generally carry laptops to work and laptops are relatively large devices, this is not a solution that is going to work out very easily. If you're lucky enough to ride solo, I would ask you to consider a tail bag, because a tail bag doesn't have a space restriction, because in the front the handlebar has to stay clear and be able to move, etc. On the tail, it just completely disappears. You can put the largest laptop into an appropriately sized bag and you won't even feel it. So to me, if you're looking for a way to get to office without carrying a backpack, which is exactly what I do, I never carry a backpack. To me, the tail bag is the right solution, not a tank bag. And tail bags are often far more versatile and a lot easier to mount than to have to work around all the restrictions of a tank bag. Kiran is asking, He has recently purchased a KTM 390 Adventure X Plus. He's managed to clock 1300 kilometers in about 2 weeks, and he misread the raw meter and missed his first service by 300 kilometers. What should he be doing now? So, in the hardest technical definition format, he might have actually ended up voiding his warranty. But in India, what he might be able to do is to convince the dealer that this was an honest, genuine mistake, there was no malintent, and sort of resume the process as it were. But it is super, super, super critical that if you have a motorcycle with a reasonably long warranty, and many of the Bajaj's, KTM's, TVS's, Heroes, they have 5-year warranties. It is super important that you do meet the service schedule. And the service schedule is whichever is earlier, time or distance. You cannot negotiate this. And therefore, you can't be in the warranty period and say, I haven't really used my bike. Do I really need an oil change? To me, the hassle of not doing that oil change, saving those 700-800 rupees max, and then having to deal with your warranty issues, it's just not worth it. Just change the oil, you'll be fine. No motorcycle has ever complained of having too fresh oil, although motorcycles can sometimes complain about having not fresh enough oil. So to me, if you're taking care of your machine, just get it serviced on time. And misreading in Odo, I can understand. Misreading it by 300 kilometers, that's a little bit hard to imagine. Maybe you just need to pay more attention, Kiran. Next, also a KTM question. This is from Josh J, and he's put a picture which you can see. How do you maintain these white panels? And he's basically got scuffs on the KTM's plastic panels. I'm not giving a detailed answer here because in each of the KTM FAQs, we have one FAQ dedicated to these plastics, why they are different and how do you maintain them. It's not very complicated. I'd ask you to come to the MotorInc app, look for plastics, scuff, KTM, something on the search engine. The same FAQ exists in 4 or 5 places. They'll all show up. Just watch it. It'll give you why they do what they do, how you react to it, how do you fix it, and how do you get the shine back. It's not rocket science at all. So I'm going to skip ahead. The last question we're going to take is from Motor Maestro. This is a perpetual question. I have answered this for the last, I think, 8 or 10 years straight now. And the question is, what do you think about putting nitrogen in tires, especially motorcycle tires? Now, this whole nitrogen started with racing vehicles where the stability of operating temperature, because of which the stability of operating tire pressure is super critical to the performance. And in those applications, nitrogen does really help. But you should never forget about race cars and race bikes is that they operate at very high performance for a relatively short period of time. And during that short period of time, any change in the performance coming from tire pressure variations can be super critical to the result that they're looking for. On the street, nitrogen really doesn't have that many benefits at all, and it's a little bit inconvenient to use, and you can look this up. You will find that nitrogen seems to leak out of the tire faster than air. And that means if you have nitrogen in your tires, then you need to check them more often. And every time you check them and discover they've gone down a little bit, then you have to top it up. And if you top it up with air, all the benefit is gone. And therefore, you must then find a nitrogen filling pump, and nitrogen is not free. On the other hand, how temperature and tire pressure varies with regular air is a well understood thing. And for most people, if you check your tire pressure and top it up once a week, that's enough. Even in a situation where you're going down a highway for a long time and you would like your temperature to be a little bit more stable, maybe nitrogen will give you an advantage. I've only ever used ambient air, which happens to be 80% wash nitrogen anyway. Honestly, this whole thing is just made up. And if you were to never look at nitrogen again, you would be just fine. I do go to the racetrack where I do use a high performance application. And even there, what is available at the racetrack very easily is air. What is impossible to get at the racetrack is nitrogen. So honestly, this is just a figment of the imagination. This is one more thing to worry about. Just don't do it. Just use air. You'll be fine. Okay, we'll take one more because it goes roughly to the same place before we sign out. And this is from Bolts and Screws. And they're asking, is it harmful to ride a bike in extreme heavy rain in terms of bike wear and tear or rust? So in extremely heavy rain, if your visibility is hampered, then you maybe should not be riding the bike. And it's a visibility being hampered, which is the primary, not your discomfort or the motorcycle. I'm saying this to you right now because the camera person on this video is a gentleman called Ashish, who has just recently crashed into a parked car. And the reason he crashed into it is because he literally started riding. The rain became super heavy and he just did not have time to open the visor. And in that much time of fiddling with the visor, which has the lock in the center, in that much time, he'd basically gone into a parked car. We have asked him whether he informed the owner of the parked car whether he hit his car or not, and so far we don't have a clear answer. But to me, heavy rain and visibility are very directly connected to each other. If you can't see well, you should pull over and stop until you can see well. As far as the motorcycle, your motorcycle is fundamentally waterproof. It doesn't actually care how much water it is in, outside of being submerged when there's static water and trying to get through it. So rain is not really going to affect your motorcycle. There was a time when rust was an issue in the rains, and when I came to Mumbai in the 2000s, suddenly all the Enfields would turn yellow because they have this compound that they put on it to prevent the chrome from getting rust spots. I haven't seen major issues of that kind on recent motorcycles at all, and they're using a lot less naked ferrous materials which could rust. They're usually a better steel alloy of some sort, or they're aluminium, and a lot of parts are now just plastic and rubber, which obviously can't rust. So the corrosion ability or susceptibility of a motorcycle anyway today has come down. If you do have an older machine, you might have to take care of them a little bit extra. And therefore, my suggestion to you is the only thing I change for the rains, I don't do anything specific to my motorcycles for the rains at all. I do, one, check my tires so that if the tread is looking low, then I would like the tires replaced before the rains start, rather than have a slippy slidey motorcycle through the rains and then get to a fresh tire. That's one thing that I would do. Second, I would be more aggressive about cleaning and lubing my chain, because in the rain there's a lot of muck that comes off the road, extra muck that comes off the road. It clogs your chain a little bit earlier, and taking a little bit extra care cannot hurt. And again, if you're using a local Indian made chain and it's not very expensive, and therefore you choose not to do this, I don't think you're going to fundamentally change your experience. You'll just replace the chain a little bit earlier, which, if it is inexpensive, is not really a big deal. And that's about it. Is there a single time where I've said, oh, that motorcycle's new or fresh or just recently serviced, or I just cleaned it yesterday or whatever, and it's raining so heavily I wouldn't take it out? Not yet. Not yet. And I've been riding for, 28 years in total, 25 years professionally. The idea that I won't ride a motorcycle today because of X reason, it just doesn't happen, and all my motorcycles run well. So in the extreme heavy rain, will your motorcycle notice any strain from it? Honestly, no. If you can't see though, then you should pull over until you can, because that is risky. And okay, one last question. This is from Shashank0808, and it's a very cool question. He's a beginner to the world of motorcycling, and he wants to know about the basic hand signs and signals that you use in India to connect better with fellow motorcyclists. And the answer is, please keep your hands on the handlebars as much as possible. You're not required to be waving your hands around. This waving your hands around thing was valid when there were no indicators and we had to use our hand to tell people that we were taking a left or a right turn. Today, you don't need it. I do use hand gestures. When I think visibility is a little bit low, for example, in heavy rain, I will use my indicators, but I will also use my hand. Sometimes gloves have reflective elements on top, which can increase your visibility a little bit, for example. Second, if I'm on a road and I see a motorcyclist coming at me, generally I would like to wave to them and acknowledge that I have seen them. This I will do pretty regularly, but this is a momentary sort of thing from the throttle hand. Could be slightly longer from the non-throttle hand, but that's about it. Everything else is completely not required. Please keep your hands on the handlebars, especially if you're a new rider. You need to control the motorcycle all of the time. To me, you need to have 2 fingers on top of the clutch, 2 fingers on top of the brake, and you're always trying to control the motorcycle with these, and taking your hand off, it's just not a good idea, Shashank, so just don't do it. To me, acknowledge riders when you see them. It's a quick wave, usually with the non-throttle hand. That's okay. If you're in low visibility conditions, do double your indicators up by indicating and then also indicating with your hand. That can help. If you're in a tight situation, you want to raise your hand and tell people that you're coming to a relatively quick stop. Okay, fair enough. Nothing else is required. Just don't do it. Keep your hands on the handlebars. And with that, we come to the end of this episode of Ask Motoring. If you're wondering where these questions are coming from, they're coming from Motoring Circles, which is a small social media app within the MotorInc app. The MotorInc app and Circles are both, of course, completely free to use. And what you will discover in there is a community of engaged, passionate car drivers and motorcycle riders and scooter operators who all love their machines, who all have thoughts on the subject, and they're very happy to share with you. It's the most uncritical, most intelligent and thoughtful forum that I've had the pleasure of being part of. And I'd invite you to come and try it if you haven't. It's called Motoring Circles. It's inside the MotorInc app, and I'd like to see you there. Thank you so much for watching.